Do you need a baby hat quickly? The shower is in a couple of days and you need to whip something up. The chunky striped baby hat is the perfect pattern for a quick baby hat, and it doesn't have to be striped. I'm going to use this Hometown Yarn by Lion Brand, and the color of this is called Orchard. It's a really pretty color, would be a nice color for a little girl. And I've got size 10.5 needles and the baby hat pattern. We're just going to use one yarn throughout, so we will not be changing colors. This is something you can easily do in a couple of hours, and I'll get started and we'll just work all the way through it. It starts off casting on 32 stitches. You could use double point needles, but I'm going to use a little bit longer circular needles so that I can work this in the magic loop. Casting on 32 stitches, and then we're going to join to work in the round, and we'll work 2 rounds in a knit 2 purl 2 ribbing. Okay, so for 32 stitches we're going to need probably a little more than an arm's length, and we'll cast on using the long tail method. 16, we're halfway there. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Double check myself. Okay, one more stitch. This pattern, the chunky stripe baby hat pattern, is a free pattern over on my website, which is Wise Owl Knits, so you can run over there and grab it. Okay, so let me just double check that we have the right amount. 2, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 4, 6, 8, 30, 32. Okay, so we're going to arrange these so half are on one side of the needle, half are on the other. Okay, move the pattern out of the way since that's gone dark anyway. So we'll just pull the cable of, I guess we'll put this back here so maybe you can see it better. Pull the cable through. So that these stitches are up towards the point of the needle, and they'll be parallel with the others. We're going to join to knit in the round, so we'll need to pull the back half of the needle out so that the stitches are resting on the cable, and we can pull it around and work in a knit 2 purl 2 rib. So we'll just go all the way around, and we're going to do just 2 rounds in the ribbing. When we get to the end of this 16, we're going to do a little finagling with the needles to get prepared to do the second half. Now we're going to just kind of flip the needles around this way, and we'll pull on the cord to get this front needle, the stitches, don't want to lose any stitches there, to get the front needle stitches close to the end of the needle so that they can be worked. And then the back needle will again pull out and bring it around so we can work. So we ended with a purl 2, and we'll start with a knit 2 over here. Now I can easily tell where I'm at, but if you can't read your knitting quite as well and you want to place some kind of a marker over here to know where the beginning of the round is, that's always a good idea. Sometimes when you put things down and come back to them, you can't always tell where you're at. So I will go ahead and pin a progress keeper over there. Since we're working magic loop, I can't put a traditional stitch marker in that lives on the needles because we're moving things around so much it would fall off. Okay, we've got 1 round done, and I'm going to grab a marker so that we can mark where the beginning of the round is. You can also tell by the yarn tail. But as we get further away from that, you don't necessarily see that as much. Again, we're flipping them, We'll bring the needle point towards the beginning of these stitches, which is now on the front needle, and then this one we're going to bring around. Let me grab that stitch marker. I have this pretty Progress Keeper that's from Arkansas Yarn Co. and it just matches the yarn, which is always nice. So I'm going to just place that right here on this cast on edge, and I will always know that that's where our beginning of the round is. Okay, one more round of knit 2, purl 2 rib, and then we'll be on to stockinette stitch. If you like to knit continental, let me show you how we do it that way. So with continental, you're holding the yarn in your left hand rather than the right, and you just stick your needle through and grab the yarn. And then when you purl, it's a little bit different. You have to bring it to the front again, wrap it around, and pull it through. I can knit both ways. I primarily knit the English method or the throwing method. But I do knit a lot, and sometimes it's nice to be able to switch back and forth so that I don't get any repetitive stress injuries from knitting too much. Okay, again, we've worked all of those stitches. We flip our needles around, push this needle through because it's now our front needle, pull the back needle out so that we can knit, and we'll finish this round of the knit 2, purl 2 rib. This skein of yarn is 113 grams. You can probably make about 3 of these hats with this one skein of yarn. So if you have a situation where you've got a couple of friends or nieces or cousins that are due all around the same time, you can make them matching hats. That is really the necessity that brought this pattern along in the first place. I had 2 cousins that had both recently married, both got pregnant. There was a shower for both of them together. They were due about a week apart, and they ended up having their babies on the same day. But I made a hat for each of them, and then I wrote up the pattern. So now we've got the 2 rounds of stockinette, or of knit 2, purl 2 rib, and now we're going to go back to our pattern. The next step is, it says knit 1 round, and then it talks about the color changes. Well, we're just going to ignore the color changes, and the pattern says to change colors 3 times altogether. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds of stockinette stitch before we start the crown decreases, which is where it gets smaller at the bottom or at the top of the hat. So this is the ribbing down here. Now we'll be working this section, which is stockinette, and then we'll end with the decreases at the top of the hat. Okay, so we're going to do 10 rounds of just knitting. So if you're working in the round to get stockinette stitch, which is that stitch where you see the V's on your knitting, like here, see the V's, and it's very smooth, that is stockinette stitch. We continue to manipulate our needles just like we did before, so the front needle, the stitches are close to the point of the needle, and the back needle, you can see the cable that comes around, or the cord. So we're just going to knit, 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 knit. I'm going to turn the camera off so you don't have to sit here and watch me, but I will time it. So right now it is 10:54. Okay, I've got my 10 rounds done, and now it is 11:21, so I think it was 10:54 before, so we're at about 25, 26 minutes to do those 10 rounds. So now we will begin the crown decreases. And we're making the smallest size, and the instructions are knit 11, knit 2 together. It's right here. And then we'll knit around in between. So knit 11, knit 2 together, knit 11, knit 2 together, and then knit 6. Here we go. So we'll knit 1, 11. So we've knit 11. Now we're going to knit 2 together. Let's just double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Now we'll knit 2 together. Then we'll do that again. 1, 2. Always good to double check yourself. I've been knitting for a long time and I continue to make mistakes. I just catch them a little bit quicker than when I was a newer knitter. So always double check your numbers if something doesn't come out right. It's probably something you've done. And we all do that. Okay, so we had 6 left over, so that is the first crown decrease round, and the next round we're just going to knit. Okay, so that's the end of that round. We'll move on to round 3, which, as I said, is knit 4, knit 2 together 5 times. As you continue these decrease rounds, you may have to rearrange your stitches on your needle so that the knit 2 togethers will be actually together. But that's okay. We're going to have less and less stitches every round. So now we're on round 4, which is knit 3, knit 2 together. And we'll go down 1 each round. So round 4 is knit 3, knit 2 together. Round 5 is knit 2, knit 2 together. Round 6 is knit 1, knit 2 together. And then round 7 is just knit 2 together all the way around. Each of those repeats you do 5 times to get all the way around the brim of the hat. The last round, we're down to the last round. You can see how the decreases all line up and they kind of form a spiral around the top of the hat. Okay, last round, just knit 2 together all the way around. And we are almost done. We've just got to do the last step. Here, now I can get my yarn out of the needle. Okay, so we've got 2 stitches on the front needle, 3 stitches on the back needle. We're going to cut our yarn and give ourselves about 8 or 9 inches. And then we'll get a tapestry needle and we will just run it through all the way around in a circle. Okay, with our tapestry needle, sometimes you might need to get your yarn a little wet to thread it through this eye because it's such thick yarn. We've got that through, and then we'll basically just use that needle to help us take the live stitches off the knitting needles. So we'll take those 2 off, and then we're going to pull our needle through because we want to take this around in a complete circle. So we'll move it so that the needle is at that end, and then we can come through these last 3. And you could take them off one at a time. You don't have to do it exactly like I do. There we go, through the last 3. And then I just go down inside into the center of the hat and pull that through, and then we'll work that end in on the inside of the hat. There's a small baby hat made in less than an hour. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw today, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. The pattern, as I said, is available over on Wise Owl Knits, and it is a free pattern, so go over and grab that, and you can stripe it as the pattern says, or you can just use one color. And if you need to upsize it for a bigger person, this has 3 sizes on it, but they're all really baby toddler size hats. So if you want to make something bigger, you're basically casting on more stitches. You might even try doubling it.